Hi everyone, and welcome to C.A.R.S. Today is a little trip down memory lane for me, and this is about the Dodge Aspen that I grew up with. 1976 Dodge Aspen Coupe. Let's take a look at some of these photos. Now, this first one is from 1982. I was born in 1981, and incidentally, I was brought home in a 1976 or so Ford Maverick, but less than a year later, my parents got a 1976 Dodge Aspen. So if you look over here, that is yours truly. Yes, that's me. I was celebrating my 1-year birthday party, and there is the cake that my mom made in the shape of a teddy bear. Totally homemade, completely by hand, totally by scratch, so delicious. All right. So these other kids here are neighbor kids that were invited, and I believe my Aunt Ruth took this picture. So this was when that car in 1982 would have been 6 years old. So still a very new car. My parents got it in 1981 or so, when it would have been only about a 5-year-old car after that Ford Maverick. So by the time I was 1 year old, I was already introduced to the 1976 Dodge Aspen. All right, this next picture is of me and my brother Michael. And there's that Dodge Aspen again. Notice that antenna, the way that the antennas used to be back then, where they weren't retractable, or they weren't just little stub antennas like they are today. It was a full-on antenna. Here's one of the first pictures that I ever took of the Dodge Aspen myself. I used to use Kodak film, so I couldn't look in the digital camera screen like we can today. So I had to just guess at it and hope that the lighting and everything was at least relatively good. My Aunt Ruth gave me a camera when I was 6 years old, and I started taking pictures. So I used to like to take pictures of vehicles, and especially the Dodge Aspen. You'll notice that fun looking van that my neighbors had over here as well, about in this part of the photo. By the way, I used to like to sit in the right rear seat right in this area. That was my favorite spot when I was a kid. All right, here's another view where it's kind of a little bit closer. You can see the little imperfections, but hey, such is life. Over here, this was at my Aunt Rachel's house, and you can see my dad and myself. This would have been when I was approximately 9 years old, and if so, that would have been around 1990. So the car was 14 years old at that point. But you can see the rear of the car there in this photo, and also in this photo next to it, and then my aunt and uncle's car. Here's another photo that I took of the Dodge Aspen. This is one of my favorite photos of the Dodge Aspen. My brother really likes that photo too. Nice and clear photo. You can see the leaf springs down underneath there. I remember I had a radio-controlled car, and I remember I used to park the radio-controlled car under here a time or two near the exhaust pipe and pretend that I was letting it warm up when my dad was warming up this car, getting ready to go to work or something like that. Now, here's a picture of me holding the camera. that I took other photos with, and my brother or dad took this photo of me. So that's kind of fun to think of, going from here near the Dodge Aspen to going here. Same person, same car, different year. This would have been when I was probably about 10 or so years old, something like that. And so that would have been around 91. And there you have it. So I'm looking forward to sharing more information about the Dodge Aspen going forward. My family had that car, as I mentioned, from before I was 1 year old all the way till when I was 13 or so. And yeah, it was quite a nice car, a lot of fun. I remember my dad used to pick up my brother and I when we'd walk down to the end of the block when we knew he was coming home from work. And I'd jump in that passenger side window. He'd roll the window down and I'd hop in when he stopped, get my seatbelt on really quick. Maybe my brother would jump in the back, and then we'd take off and go the rest of the way home. So that car was a lot of fun. 318 cubic inch V8. And though they did not have a whole lot of power, it looked cool and it sounded cool. And I remember learning a lot about it, looking under the hood, learning what each of the different engine accessories and components were, learning about things like alternators and air cleaners, carburetor, those sorts of things. So anyhow, that's my little trip down memory lane. I'm looking forward to sharing more with you about the Dodge Aspen. And thank you all for taking a moment to watch this. And I'd love to hear stories about the first car that you have clear memories of growing up. So if anybody wants to put a comment down below in the comments, please feel free. And I'll look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Thanks everybody for watching C.A.R.S.